Well, we're back with Heather Buer talking about how to embrace love and life in your golden years or even at 50 beyond. One of the key things is the love part, rekindling that love if it is waning
Yes.
or gone.
And one very sweet woman that I was speaking with recently, you know, she's like, she said to me, she's in her 50s, and she just very honestly said, you know, it's not only possible to rekindle love, it's sweeter than ever.
Nice.
Which that really warmed my heart, and I thought, okay, I think that's something that we all need to hear. Instead of just giving up, and instead of treating the other person with the anger and the frustration that you maybe feel towards them, maybe working towards that love, doing the things that are loving and kind, the things that act, you know, the actions that are loving and kind towards another person, that can really make a difference. And the other thing too is that I think about in this time of life, you've gone through, you know, you've likely gone through so many trials, so many, maybe there's been deaths, maybe there's been, you know, traumas, you've gone through so many things together after 20 or 30 years of marriage. To think about just cutting that off and starting all over again, or to just letting that die, you know, is a real tragedy to me, because there's a real richness there, and when you don't turn on each other, when you turn towards each other, then that's what really makes the difference. Because I can't imagine, you know, if I'm like 58 or something like that, and the things that my husband and I have been through just in our 10 years of marriage, you know, I can't imagine, you know, what the next 10 or 20 years are going to bring, and then to just turn my back on all of that all of a sudden, and then possibly start fresh, like that just seems
That'd be worse.
That seems like a lot of work, you know. And you know, we've talked before about oxytocin, that bonding hormone. Think about all of the years of bonding, like physical chemical bonding that you have there between two people, and that isn't something that just is easy to snap apart. You know, I've heard people say, you know, what do you get when you take two pieces of paper and glue them together? Well, that's one piece of paper then. What do you get when you try to take them apart? A mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess, you know. And so really, when your lives are that enmeshed with one another, when in your thoughts, I mean, we can finish each other's sentences and, you know, all of that. To think about throwing that away is an easy thing maybe to think about at first, but the hard work to put into the time and the effort, you know, the golden rule, you know, those types of things, is going to be well worth the effort. And I've heard people say, you know, when it comes to sex, it's like, you know, now we have all of this freedom, but now we really have to be intentional about finding time to do it, because we do have this freedom and we are off doing our own thing. And, you know, we even maybe have to be more intentional about it than when, you know, the little kids were in the house and you kind of took any, you know, any little moment that you could, you know, it had to sneak it in there. And one other thing that this dear friend of mine said was that, you know, does my husband annoy me? Has he always annoyed me? Is he always going to annoy me? Probably. But you know what? If he were gone tomorrow, I would beg God to give me one more night of hearing his snore in the middle of the night, and beg God to give me one more chance to pick up his underwear off the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like lifelong love, where, you know, you've done it together, you've served each other, and maybe it's been really awful at times, because I can guarantee you it has. But putting it together and looking back with love and saying, I wouldn't give this up for the world, even the bad parts.
All right, Heather Buer, thank you so much. Valley Christian Counseling Center, you can get a hold of her there.
Yep.
We appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll be right back. Stay close.